What is SAP UI5 SDK? This was an interview question asked me back in 2017. Interviewer wanted to know what is SAP UI5 Demo Toolkit, but they confused me with this word SDK, which is Software Development Kit. Let's understand. SAP UI5 Demo Toolkit is a place where we can find all the SAP UI5 development related resources. There is a step-by-step documentation available for app development. Underneath the API reference section, we can find in-depth knowledge about the SAP UI5 control overview, properties, events, and methods associated with the controls. Underneath the demo app section, we can find the design and coding guideline for SAP Fury development. What you will learn in this tutorial. You will learn about SAP UI5 panel control. You will learn about how to insert the SAP UI5 list and standard list item inside a view, how to use the standard CSS classes, how to use the SAP UI5 avatar control. Let's start. This is our current application that we have developed as of now. In the previous video, I have shown you how to download the source code and use it inside the SAP Business Application Studio. So if you haven't seen the last video, please watch it so you can come as per the development. You would be aligned like this. You can get the last code that we have updated. So you would get the similar kind of UI because now the fresh development we will start from this UI. There used to be a header that I have commented. I would show you. So this is our application and we are going to develop the application, update the UI of the application in this way. So this is the existing functionality which is working fine, but we have additional controls like avatar. There's a list that we have loaded and these are the standard list items. So this is what we are going to develop. Before we start the development, I want to give you an introduction about SAP UI5 SDK, SAP UI5 Demo Toolkit. You go to Google and you search with SAP UI5 Demo Toolkit. The first link, sapi5.hana.ondemand.com. This is the SAP UI5 Demo Toolkit. This is the landing page of this is also application. So there are different sections like documentation, API references, samples, and there are two more. Let me reduce the screen resolution so you can see all 5 sections. So the first section is documentation. Here you will find the step-by-step documentation for SAP UI5 app development. There is different sources that you can read, like what's new in SAP UI5, read me first before start the development, and get started, setup, tutorial, everything is available. But here is the most important thing that I want to grab your attention to, the essentials. Inside essentials, we have, okay, not essentials. Inside get started, we have something called walkthrough. Walkthrough as the step-by-step tutorial to create the SAP UI5 application. If you are somebody who like to read and like to implement by copy pasting the code, this is the best place where you can learn SAP UI5 app development. Apart from walkthrough, there are different things like you can read about data binding, and there is again a step-by-step tutorial for data binding. We are also going to cover the data binding in our course. There is something called work list. There is a step-by-step tutorial available for work list app development. And the most important thing is ice cream machine. This is a step-by-step tutorial for analytical application development. If you are somebody who like to display data in different form of charts and analytical tiles, so this is a course that you can do to understand about the how to use the donut chart or bar chart to display the data. And this is a useful tutorial, the ice cream machine. This is what you can look upon, and there are different options that you can read about. Then there is something called API reference where we find all the libraries related information. And underneath the API reference, if you can go to sap.m, because we are using the sap.m library, and if you go to any control, like for example avatar control, you can find out the overview why we are using this control. Constructor, you can find how to load this control inside the controller and what are the parameters we can pass. Properties, you will understand what all properties are associated with the control, and you can read about the uses of the properties like background color, badge icon, badge tooltip. Aggregation is something where we can load inside which control we can load this control. I mean, inside which control we can load the avatar control, because there is a structure of parent child, and you cannot load any control inside any other control. There has to be aggregation between them. Associations, you can find out to what all things you can apply, what all libraries which are used to get this control inside the view. Events, you can find out what all events we can apply, like on in HTML we have on click event of a button. Similar way here in SAPUI5 we have press event. This is what you can find out, that I can apply the press event as a property, and I can write the function inside the controller. What all methods you can apply, like attach press, bind detail box. These method details would be available here. Fire press. These methods you can apply in the controller. Sample section is really important because here we can find all the XML code related to the control. Assume if I search with avatar .m, I can find the visual look, how the avatar would look like. And if I click on this icon, I can see the source code that we are going to see in few moments. Demo apps have different demo application available that you can run in the browser, and you can understand how these applications are running. If you download, this is the walkthrough and ice cream, what is the final product which is going to be built if you follow the tutorial that you can just see here. And you can also understand what is the design guideline for SAP Fiori development by using the source code of these applications. This is tools section. In tools, we have different options, like if you want to read about SAP Business Application Studio, if you want to read about SAP Fiori tools, if you want to read about SAP FN Inspector, how to utilize it, the card explorer, the icon explorer, and there are different uses of each and everything. Icon explorer is something that we are going to use in this tutorial. So now let's start the development. And to do that, we are going to build this UI. And this is our current UI. So go to our application. Okay, this is my bank detail application. Inside this, I will go to the app view because that is a root view, and this is the only view we are using right now. Later, we will change it to another view and we'll create other views as well when we will understand the navigation and routing concept. For now, we have something called, let me make it a little bigger. We have something called a fragment, and below there is a button. And on the application level also, you can find there is a fragment, and which fragment it is. It is bank details fragment, and we have the bank details fragment here. In last tutorial, we created each and everything. Okay, so now the first, I will apply one panel here, because if you can see here, this UI is called a panel, which is creating a card kind of UI, and inside this we have all these things. Right now there is no panel, so I will go to the SAP SDK. I'll go to the sample section and I will search with panel. Now, if I'll click on the panel, it will display me how the panel looks like. And there is a panel with picture, there is a panel with header, and there is a button by which I can see the next sample. If I click here, I will find these are the different options I have. Panel with header text, panel with custom toolbar, panel with clickable custom toolbar, header text. Now what I do, I go to the source code by clicking on this button, and here is the source code of panel. So I will copy the source code of panel. We have to make sure whenever we copy something from here, these libraries should be there in our view as well, because sometimes some controls are depend on the library, and when you copy paste them and don't see which libraries are there, are important, required in our view, the application would crash. So to make sure that all these things we have, right now the XML L layout we don't need, because in panel we are not using anywhere. So I copy panel to panel. This is the opening tag. This is the closing tag. So from panel to panel, I will copy. I'll go to my application. Above this core fragment, I will put this panel. And the first thing I will do is that I will remove this text because it is not required. Now panel is giving us some error. Let me keep it nice. So panel is giving us an error because we haven't defined an ID. For ID, I can say P denoted to panel. And I can say this, I'm going to create a bank details fragment I'm going to put inside. So I can say P, or I can say the account details. P account, because this would be the header I want to display. Instead of here, we are displaying account details. So I'm giving it a name as P account details. And in the header text area, I'm keeping account details. Right now, we are not binding it with I18 text. We will do it later. And yes, so my panel is available, and panel has a header text called account details. Now let me see how application is looking. Okay, so my panel is loaded. Now this data I will put inside this panel, and to do that, panel has something called content. Our page also has content. And why the panel is getting loaded? Because we have the required libraries already available. So make sure that you have the correct library defined in your view. Once panel has the content, inside this content I will put this fragment and the button, so it will load. I will cut this code from here, content to content. We have closing and opening tag of the content, and I paste it here. Now, so this is, I have made it little bigger, and we are making the changes in appview.xml file. And now if you will see our application, the UI would load inside the account details. There is a header, there is a panel we have, and it is loading inside it. But if you will notice, it is expandable. And the UI that we are going to build, there is no expandable panel. And but this panel is expandable. So what I will do, I will check what is the properties we have defined in panel. The expandable properties there, it is set to true. And that's the reason it is giving me option to open and close the panel. If I will set this property to false, this option would not be available, and the panel would look not expandable. It won't give us a facility to expand and close, like open and close the panel. If you will notice, now the panel would load as it is. Okay, now we have our account details panel, and we have these details loaded inside it. This looks good. Now, if you will notice, there is something called avatar, but avatar we are going to load now. So I will go to the SAP UFI sample, and instead of panel, I will put avatar, and I'll click on the avatar, and I will find out. So this avatar I want to show, avatar of a person with border. Using this text, I can find out the source code. To find the source code, you need to click on this curly braces icon, and you will get the source code here. So avatar of the product, avatar of a person. Okay, this is the avatar, or this is the closing tag of avatar. So I will only copy avatar, and I will go to my code because I need to display avatar here, right? So to do that, about this inside the panel, I will put the avatar here. Okay, now my avatar is here and avatar control. So it is giving us error because there is no ID specified to it. So I can say A for avatar, avatar, and I can say user profile. This is my avatar. In source, right now we are not passing anything. We are not applying any image. So I'm keeping it as it is. This is my avatar. I have put just above the fragment and the button code, but everything is inside the content of the panel. If you will see, this is the closing tag of panel. Let me make it little smaller. And if you will notice, this is the closing tag of the opening tag of the panel. This is the closing tag of the panel. So panel, and now inside the content we have created avatar. We have one fragment. So bank details fragment is getting loaded here, and this button is getting loaded here. Now let me see how the application looks like. Okay, we have the avatar, we have our code, our display information here, and this button here. But if you will notice, it is aligned in horizontally. It is aligned horizontally, avatar, and then this uh, fragment. So I want to align it horizontally as we have seen in the previous classes. Right now it is vertically aligned, which is by default. There is no vertical box, but still by default the behavior is it will align vertically. I want to align them horizontally. So to align horizontally, we always use hbox. Hbox means horizontal box. I will create hbox open tag, hbox closing tag. Now inside the hbox, I will put this avatar, this fragment panel. Okay, so inside the panel, avatar, call fragment, and button. After button, I will close the hbox. Hbox is giving us an error because hbox required ID. So I can give it an ID as box 4. Why I'm giving it hbox 4, that I will tell you later. Like you can give any ID whatever you want, but I'm giving it because we already have 3 hbox in our bank detail fragment. So we are going to put that code here in some time, because this file, the root app view, it should be clean. There should only be fragment, nothing else should be there. So that's the reason right now we are putting everything here. So I will make the changes here, but right now we are keeping it hbox. And because of hbox, everything is aligned like this, but this button is also going there. So what we can do now, hbox is there, so it is aligning all three of them because we have the code of all three. So to fix this problem, this button I want to display here, right? So I can remove this button from here and I can go inside the fragment bank details. I can find where is my bank details. It's here. This is a V box. This is a V box. That's why the label and text are inside a H box. And all hbox are inside the vbox. That means label and text would be aligned horizontally. So it is aligned horizontally right now. And the combination of label and text is aligned vertically. It is because there is a vbox. So that's why one hbox, two hbox, and three hbox. That's why it is visible one hbox. Then after this second hbox and the third hbox, it is aligned vertically because there is a vbox, right? So if I put my button code inside the vbox, the button would also be aligned just after these three h boxes, right? Immediately just after these three edge boxes, the button would also be aligned. So let's see how the application is working. So we have run the application already, and now it is looking somewhat better. Now it is looking somewhat equal to this, right? But there is a space between them. But for here we don't have any space, so I would create some space. And how do we create the space? We have to write the standard css classes. But right now my button is here inside the fragment, and that's why now the code is more cleaner. We have the panel, we have the H box inside it, we have the avatar and the fragment, right? So on fragment level, I won't apply anything. I won't put any standard class. I will put the standard class on this V box because everything is inside the V box, right? So I can go to my bank details, and inside the V, there is a small margin that is already there. We can put double classes also. I can say SAP UI small margin begin, and begin also I want some margin. This is what I'm saying. So we can put two classes together. There is no problem, and both would work. This means it is giving margin from all the directions, left, right, top, bottom. And this would only give the margin in the begin. It means in the left side. So if I want the margin in the left side, it should be coming here. So right now it is not applicable to it. Let me see why. SCPI small margin begin. I can give, instead of small, I can give large margin begin. So let me see if the large margin begin is working or not. So everything is inside the panel. That's the reason sometimes the CSS class won't work because the panel has its own limitations, right? And we have put everything inside the panel. So that's the reason it is coming like this. But now the class is applied. Large margin is coming, but this button is aligned this side, so I can see why it is happening. I think there is a class applied on the button as well. If you can see SAPUI small margin begin, so that's the reason there is a small margin coming from this text, right? This margin. So to remove this margin, I can remove the class itself. If I will remove the class, the margin would come perfectly, and the alignment would be aligned like this. We are going to align the text like this, right? So now the application is running and it is aligned automatically. Now if you will notice, our account detail section is looking as it is. Now we will develop the card details, but before that I want to display something. Here inside the app view, we have panel, we have hbox, we have avatar, then we have fragment, right? Why can't we put all these things inside the fragment itself? Why we are keeping it inside the app view? Because because the code should be cleaner. So this entire thing we can put inside the bank details. This is the bank details fragment. Right now we have only these values, but I can put this panel and this avatar text. Both the things can we can keep inside the bank details. So that alignment you have to know how we can do that. So first I can remove this panel part from content because it is from content to content and panel to panel. So I can remove this part. I can cut this code from here. I will go to my bank details. Above everything there is a V box, This is where it is closing. Above VBox, I can put this panel, right? And this is the content. So where is the content? This is the closing tag for content of the panel, and the closing tag of the panel, I will cut it and go to the bank details after VBox, wherever the VBox closing tag, after that I will put it. So what I'm doing now, inside the panel, inside the content of the panel, I have defined whatever was there earlier, right? Now I will go and I will say that this avatar control also I want to define there. So right now, see, that's how it is looking. We have put this thing inside the panel, right? So panel is also assigned to bank details. This is bank details, right? Now I want avatar to be assigned there. So I will remove the avatar code. I will cut it from here. I'll go to my bank details and I will say above this VBox, let me put avatar just after the VBox, because VBox is already defined. So above this VBox, I am keeping avatar. Let me see how the application is looking. Okay, now we have everything. We have the account details, we have the avatar, we have our label and text, but alignment is not good. So let's understand why it is. Because we have the panel, we have the avatar, and we have the VBox. VBox is coming as it should come. But if you will notice, there was something called HBox. And we have to define one HBox because we don't want them to align vertically. We want them to align horizontally. And for horizontal alignment, all this code, XML code for avatar, for VBox and our label and text has to be put inside a H box, so it will be aligned horizontally. So I cut this H box and I put above all inside the panel, inside the content, above all I will put my H box, and the closing tag also be there after avatar, after VBox, after this button. So this button we have inside the VBox. That's why when we will apply the HBox now, this button won't be aligned horizontally because it is bound to be aligned vertically because of this VBox. So it will be aligned with them vertically, and this entire structure is inside this VBox. So this is a separate div. You can say div as a in HTML control. So this entire div is now inside the HBox. So this is one entity and this is avatar is the another entity. So both entities would be defined horizontally. It is done. This is our avatar. This is our VBox entities, right? It is assigned horizontally. And if you will notice our app view, now we have only one fragment. Right. So this is the use of the fragment that your code would be more cleaner and you can assign anything what you want to do if you know the proper alignment, how the alignment would happen. That's why in the title I mentioned that we will learn about the CSS. We will learn this is also a part of CSS where you understand which control we can put where, how the control structure. Now let me format the document. Now you see our bank details, we have panel, we have HBox, we have avatar, we have VBox, we have our three HBoxes. And that's the reason this HBox I gave ID as HBox 4 because we already have HBox 1, HBox 2, HBox 3. So the fourth HBox would be the HBox 4. That's where the ID is HBox 4. This is our panel. This is the closing tag of the panel. Everything is inside the fragment definition. In our app view, now we have only one fragment. Let me give the name of the fragment. It is a bank details fragment. And I can put it as a comment. So to put a comment in XML, you can press control question mark and there would be a comment. If you will press control question mark again, the comment would be disabled. And you have to put the cursor here, whichever line you want to comment, and you can press control question mark and it would be commented. So by comment, I can understand, okay, this is my bank details fragment. Inside my bank details, I have my bank details along with the user profile. Everything is aligned inside this fragment. And that's where the app view code is more readable now. It is more readable because we have only one header button and we have one fragment. So everything, if I want to understand what is inside the fragment, I can go directly to the bank details fragment and I can look for the UI. what is there? Okay, there is a panel, there is a H box, there is a avatar, there is a V box. There are different classes which are applied to it. So classes you need to understand. When we say SAP UI small margin, it is holistically it will give the margin from all sides. When we say SAP UI large margin begin, it will put the margin in the starting of the control. And I think there is some problem. Let me load the application. Okay, application is getting loaded. There is no problem. The existing functionality is working fine. Now our next task is to apply one card details list. This is what we are going to apply now. Okay, to do that, we will find out the list control in the SDK. I will go to the samples and I will search for the list. And there are different kind of lists available. Like there is something called navigation list. In the navigation list you can see, so these are the samples that you can see and you can understand which one is better for me. There is something called smart list. Smart list is also important because it is smart in different ways. It is about the load, how we are loading the list and how it is looking in looks. Everything we can find in the sample section. I don't know in what way it is smart. Might be it is giving us this tree structure. That's why it is smart. Because building this tree structure is actually very difficult. If you do it in the standard list, it's I think almost impossible without extending the control. Now there is something called action list item, column list item. There are different lists like notification list. You can say it looks really nice. There is a notification. If you want to display, you can do that. You can remove that. You can make changes, edit, accept in notification. So from here we can find whatever control we need. You can check each one of them. Okay, you want to display some information in a list, something like that. You can use object list item. You can go to the source code. You can copy the list to list you have to copy, and then you can put your own data. Okay, let me show you how the list we can use here, but we have to find out the correct list for us. This is a list responsive table. This is called standard list item. So I'm going to use the standard list item here. We can find there are different standard list item. I'm checking the next sample code because we want to create something like this, like Mastercard, active state. We have to create something like this. So I will find a list which is same in looks, and that we can find in the standard list item. Yes, I think this list item looks almost similar to this one, right? We can make changes, not exactly the same, but at least it is giving us an idea that yes, this is a standard list item, and that's how the standard list item is looking. Using the API reference, I can read about the properties, the methods which I can apply, and I can copy the source code from here. This is we are going to see now. Okay, so just now I have decided that this standard list item, this is what we are going to create, and we are going to put it in one another video because the video would be very long. So separately we will talk about this standard list item and how to apply it. For now, we have created this UI. Now we need to create the another UI. So we will discuss about it in the next video. So must please watch the next video. Thank you.